Okay guys, welcome. Today we have to discuss a very interesting topic, and that is that is called asset ceiling. But before discussing this, we need to understand two main concepts, and that is called pension asset and pension liability. Okay, so before discussing the asset ceiling, we should understand that what does we mean by the pension asset. Pension asset is basically the money which a company save to pay employee when they retire. Clear? So this actually the save money, and this money saved by the company, and for whom this money have been saved, that is for the employee. So when the employee retired, then the company pay from this pension asset to that particular employee. So we call that as pension asset. This is a pension asset. The company is here. The company contribute to this pension asset, and once the employee of this company retire, then the employee will get money from this pension asset. So it comes from both employee and employee contribution. It's not merely related to the company, but employee can also contribute to this pension asset. So it means that to cover the future retirement payment, the company create this pension asset. Clear? Now let's talk about pension liability. That what does we mean by pension liability? So the amount of money a company expect to pay its employee after they retire, then we call that pension liability. These employee who work for the company, and now the company expect that, let's say the company have to pay $800 to the employee who will retire, then that amount will be your pension liability. So it is the company promise to provide retirement payment, and this is estimated based on the things like how long employees life and when they retire. Clear? So once you understand these two concepts, then you will get a new figure from here. Let's say this is let me do it here. This is pension asset, and this is 950. Okay, the pair value of pension asset, and pension liability, this will be 800. Then when you deduct the pension liability from the when you pay the liability of the employee, then you will get surplus, and that will be 150. So asset ceiling is just about this figure, that you will not recognize this whole amount in your balance sheet and statement of financial position. You have to apply asset ceiling test. So now we have to discuss that what does we mean by asset ceiling. Okay, let's move on. Okay, fine. Okay, now just look at the definition. That what does it mean? Asset ceiling refer to the limit on how much of the surplus mean this 150 from the pension plan. You know, this is a pension plan. This is a proper pension plan. Pension asset and pension liability can be shown as an asset in the company financial statement. So asset ceiling will show you the limit that how much of the surplus should be recorded in the balance sheet. Okay. Now, as per the IAS 19 employee benefits, as per the IAS 19 employee benefits, that IAS 19 states that benefit plan, when benefit plan and surplus like this, then you have to take the LORO. Let me write here. Okay, then you will have to take LORO of first surplus, and the second thing, the total present value of economic benefit available in the form of returns or reduction and future contribution to the plan. So you will take the lower amount. Let's say we have just to extend this example. Let's say we have the present value of the total future returns from the fund, or let's say reduction and future contribution is 70. So as per the IAS 19, you have to recognize the amount in the balance sheet as lower of these two amounts. You have 150 and 70. So you will recognize this 70 and your balance sheet as an asset. Clear? Now, if the limit is lower, let's say this limit is lower, then we will have to remeasure the loss which will charge to the OCI, other comprehensive income. Okay, so when you will write the text like remeasurement loss of, this is the 150 less 70, then you will get 80. So this will be recognized in your statement of other comprehensive income. Clear? Now let's discuss the theoretical part that we have already done. Okay, here if you see here, what does it mean by the pension asset? Is a retirement plan set by the employer to provide income to employee after they retire. So pension plan is actually a retirement plan where the employer set aside some amount that we call asset plan asset, and the employer contribute to this. So once the employer retired, the company or the employer pay from this plan asset to that particular employee. Clear? It collects and invests. So that collect and invest burns over time to ensure there are enough money to pay to the retirement. Now the pension liability, we have discussed this already, that the amount of money that the company owes to its employee in the future when they retire. So when they get the money, that amount which is payable for the employer will be the liability, and that is called pension liability. So that's as a total obligation the company must pay to the retiree according to the pension plan. Clear? Now let's move on. We have already done with the asset ceiling. Asset ceiling what is the purpose of asset ceiling? Why we apply this thing? So this is to ensure that only the part of the pension surplus that a company can actually use or benefit from is accounting an asset. So we should ensure asset ceiling is just for ensuring that we have recorded the surplus with the correct amount from which actually the company use or can get benefit from that asset. So this is determined by evaluating whether the company can use the surplus to reduce future contribution to the pension plan or to get refund. So when this surplus reduce the future contribution of pension plan, contribution to pension plan or get refund, so then you will use that amount and you will recognize that amount. Pension plan surplus, we have discussed that when a pension plan asset means, let's say this is, we have discussed this is 50 exceed as 800, then your surplus will be 150. Clear? Once you pay the liability, then you will have this amount. Now asset ceiling, the maximum amount of pension surplus that a company can recognize and is an asset depending on what future economic benefit of the company can actually realize. Now let's talk about the calculation. Here you see this is the planned asset, 15 million means planned asset means the money set aside for the pension plan. This is your pension obligation, 12 million, the liability which you will have to pay to your retiree employee. Clear? Now the surplus is the difference between the planned asset and obligation, which is 15 less 12, you will have 3 million. This 3 million is your surplus. If you see here, this is your surplus. Clear? Now you have to recognize the whole amount, or you need to do some asset ceiling test. So when you are doing asset ceiling test, even though their surplus is 3 million, the company cannot necessarily recognize the full amount as an asset. They need to apply asset ceiling test to determine how much of this surplus can be recorded. So to apply the asset ceiling, the company consider future economic benefits it can get from the surplus, okay, in the form of refund or in the form of reduction to the contribution. So one thing is you have to consider that whether you are getting the contribution reduction from the surplus. So can the company reduce future payment to the pension plan because of the surplus, or refund can be receive a cash refund in any form. So let's assume here you see the company can only reduce future contribution by 2 million. So this is your asset ceiling. Clear? Asset ceiling is 2 million and your surplus was 3 million. So the actual thing which you need to recognize is 2 million, because this is the actual asset from which you get a benefits. So this asset ceiling is 2 million, even though the total surplus is 3 million, but you have to consider this lower of these two figures. Now recognizing the asset surplus, this one, future economic benefits in this one. So the asset ceiling is lower than surplus. The company can only recognize 2 million of the pension surplus as an asset in the balance sheet, and the remaining 1 million surplus cannot be used or counted as an asset because it does not provide future economic benefits. Now if you see here is a conclusion, asset ceiling limits how much a pension surplus company can record as an asset based on the future economic future benefits that can realize, like reducing contribution or getting refunds. So if the refund or reducing contribution is, let's say, 5, and the asset ceiling surplus is, let's say, 6, then you will consider lower of, and the lower of is this amount. Even though the pension plan has 3 million, we have discussed this in the previous example, the company only recognized 2 million because it's a maximum future economic benefit. Clear? Okay, we have another example. Okay, this is another example. You see here, a company following information that the pension plan, you have pension plan asset 20 million, pension obligation 17 million. So the company estimates that it can reduce the future contribution by 2 million because of the surplus. The surplus is here will be 3 million. If you deduct 17 million from the 20 million, then you will have this amount. Now the company is also entitled to receive a refund of 500,000 from the pension plan surplus. So the question is, what is the pension plan surplus? What is the asset ceiling, and how much the company recognizes as an asset and the balance sheet? The first thing you will calculate is the surplus, pension plan surplus, plan asset, and pension obligation. Asset was 20, 17 was your pension liability, and 3 million as your surplus. But now you have to apply asset ceiling to recognize the amount which actually benefit to the employer. Now, applying the asset ceiling test, the company needs to determine the future economic benefit it can derive from this surplus. The first one is future contribution reduction, that is 2 million. The second one is refund from the pension plan, that is 500. So the total future economic benefits, or if you see here, future economic contribution plus refund, then there will be 2.5 million. So asset ceiling is this amount and the surplus was 3 million. So you will have to rewrite this and your balance sheet as an asset. So determine the recognized assets, and the asset ceiling is 2 million. The company only recognized this amount and its balance sheet, although the surplus is 3 million. So the recognized amount will be 2.5 million. Clear? Now let's talk about the summary. So the pension asset was this, asset ceiling was this, and recognized asset will be this. Clear? I think this is more than enough. This is a very great concept. Thank you for watching.